Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Chris with the C. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you very much for joining me today. Guys, on the table we have the HPI Vorza. Now, as you know, I've taken this Truggy out for his first run recently and I absolutely loved it. Now, when I purchased this Truggy, first of all, big shout out to Wheelspin Models for actually hooking me up with the Truggy. I always knew I was going to start upgrading this, okay? So I've done loads of research, and it's something I do quite often with all my trucks. What I tend to do is kind of look what's available for it, what upgrade path I've got, how I can improve my cars and make them feel a little bit like my own. And it's all down to upgrades. Now, as you know, I'm a big advocate for upgrades on the channel. Some trucks don't need them. Some I like to upgrade just to give it my own style. Sometimes I find little nuances with many of the trucks and kind of think, right, okay, so rather than replace it with stock parts or maybe fix them with stock parts, I tend to upgrade them. Now, I got talking to Draco Precision straight out of Osaka, Japan, by a gentleman by the name of Braden, and a really, really nice guy, by the way. He's got a really cool YouTube channel. He does a lot with the HPI stuff. Now, he concentrates mainly on like the Vorza, the Savage, some of the Nitros as well, and he offers quite a big range of upgrades. Now, in this bag, he kindly sent over the parts for me to upgrade this Truggy, what was available for this Truggy. And what I want to do in this video is document basically what he sent over. Number one, I want to talk you through the parts, and then we're going to start fitting them to the vehicle. I want to say a huge thank you, Braden, obviously, for allowing me to do this for you, buddy. Guys, so without further ado, let's dive down. I'm going to adjust the camera and then we'll start looking at the parts and what I essentially have spotted with the vehicle that I feel could have a slight improvement. See you in a sec. Guys, so as you can see on the table, we have the HPI Vorza S Flux Truggy. Like I say, really, really enjoyed this Truggy. When I took it out, to be honest with you, it blew my mind. And it looks like you guys watching the video at home thoroughly enjoyed watching me see absolutely kick the living daylights out of this around Garth Park. Now, nothing really stood out to me that I needed to change. I did make a few changes straight out of the box. Now, the reason why I've done this is I know the way our cars drive. Again, I've done research on them, and part of that process, while I'm looking at them, obviously, I take you through a journey of picking and choosing parts that I feel will stand up to the test of time, or something that might have broken and obviously it might need looking at. Now, one of the things I noticed with this, okay, was the motor mount. I didn't really particularly have a problem, other than the fact, okay, the design on it, unfortunately, the biggest motor pinion I could get in the car at the time was 16. So I've gone with the 16, and the car is fast. I've got no issues with it, the speed and the power it produces, but I would like some more fine-tuning, should we say, on meshing. And if I wanted further down the line to maybe change up the motor to something different, I would like to be able to play around with the gearing. Also, the shock towers. Now, the shock towers on here are, I want to stand corrected, by the way, okay? These aren't actually 7075 from what I'm being told, okay? These are more like 6061. Now, I might have got, all right, I might be looking at a completely different spec sheet. But again, I like thick towers on my Truggies, essentially so I can go out and give them hell, just like I did with the SSTE, and not really have to think about it too much. Now, guys, if I have got that wrong, I will stand corrected, okay? I thought these were 7075. I'm having mixed opinions all over the internet and in the comments. Essentially, I'm not sure whether these are. You might maybe be able to let me know in my comments. Let me know down below, guys. Also, I did notice it would have been nice if we could have got a bracing system. Now, roll on Draco Precision, guys. So Draco straight out of Osaka, Japan. I'll put the car on the floor. Braden sent over some parts. Now, he documents these on his YouTube channel, okay? As well as producing them, what he actually does is go out and test them on his channel. And he sent me over the kit for the vehicle. So this essentially is everything that you will get from Draco Precision. In there, I also got a sticker sheet, as you can see, all right, of Draco Precision there, so I will be adding some of those to the vehicle as well. The only thing that isn't in the kit are the diff housings that he's got, okay, because he's currently out of stock on those. But if you just look here, guys, okay, what he does is give you the part number for every single screw, okay. He gives you a full diagram on how it should go together. Now, this is awesome. Guys, I really love the way, obviously, he's set out on guiding you through the process on how to install your parts. He even gives you a QR code on the back here. Now, the shock towers themselves, I'll go through some specs in a moment, okay? But what we're going to essentially do is we're going to do the shock towers. We're also going to do, if you look, just to show you here, he gives you a full diagram there as well. Same thing, showing you how to install them, where the stock position is. I mean, it's really, really good the way he's done this. Very nicely set out. So you've got the front and the rear. Obviously back to front there. If you're an avid HPI user or someone who enjoys using the HPI trucks, I think this is going to be absolutely awesome. And again, the motor mount, showing you exactly how to put it all together. And he includes all the mounting hardware along with obviously the motor mount, all made out of 7075. And, you know, machine quality, I believe, from what I've been told, is absolutely spot on. And guys, chassis braces. So we're going to go through these a second. So let's just quickly show you the parts, for example, okay? So in this bag here, we have the shock towers, the front and rear shock towers. He sells them as a kit. Now, I'm quite invested in this Truggy already, okay? Look at the quality. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Come with these big, thick, I believe these are 4mm standoffs. All the machining is absolutely top notch. These are all out of billet, guys, not machine pressed or anything like that. These are actually machined. You've got the Draco logo up the top here. Just a really, really nice quality. So that, I believe, is the rear. All right. But what I do like about them, okay, is the multiple positions. All right. So with the stock towers, I believe you get 3 mounting positions in total. But on here, guys, I think it's 10 in total. So you get 10 different positions for fine-tuning your suspension. So that's actually really cool, considering, obviously, this Truggy out of the box does have a slightly droopy stance on the suspension. As you know, I did add some Red Cat Valkyrie springs on mine just to kind of push the car up. But now I can kind of fine-tune it even further. All 7075, really nice quality. So that is the rear tower there, guys. He's included obviously the lock nuts as well, the nylon lock nuts, and this is the front tower there. Same thing, all billeted, got a really nice polished finish to them. And I believe these are 5mm thick, if I remember right. Give me 2 seconds. I'll get my calipers and we'll have a quick look. Okay, so I've got my vernier calipers here, guys. I'm just going to try them out. Let me zero them out. Okay, so if we go from the thickest part there. So just to kind of get a... Oh, that's in inches. Let me just change it over. So it's actually... Let's close that down and zero it. There you go. So that's now 0, guys, as you can see. And if we go up, the top is thickest part. It's actually, guys, 6mm. Just under 6mm, yeah? No, spot on 6mm. There you go. 6mm shock tower, guys. So really, really thick. And as I say, 7075. So, you know, we're not talking cheap materials here. These should be really tough for this Truggy. Shouldn't have any issues bending. 6mm thick. So they are the towers, guys. Let me just put these back in a packet for now. Very, very impressed with the quality on them. Nice finish. I love the kind of polished look to them as well. Something that I'm glad it obviously he went the full hog and polished the parts, because some manufacturers don't actually go that step with billeted pieces. you know, they kind of give it a kind of I wouldn't say tarnished look, but I love shiny parts. I'm like a sort of magpie, guys. Honestly, the shinier the better. But you know, really nicely presented. You also get the center braces here, guys. So obviously what they then do is actually design the center braces. As you can see, you've got the holes there. So the center brace, the little parts there, are actually designed for the Draco towers. So the only thing I will mention here, though, that if you're using the stock towers, you won't be able to purchase this. Now, instead of using, let's say, a square turnbuckle all the way through it, what he's actually done is gone with this, again, machine part there, and then you can actually get a hex driver in there to actually adjust the tension. And it's a little step that by losing the kind of spanned, what do we call it? I can't think of the word now. Essentially, what the nut then, okay? By losing that, this actually is stronger than having a nut in the middle. So obviously having thin and then go straight to there, because that creates a break point. So what he's done is just machined it all the way around. And you know, that's really nice. All metal pivot balls in there, big juicy turnbuckles. I believe these are the same rod ends, sorry, from what's on the car. So these are HPI rod ends as well. Again, really nicely made. And all your mounting screws in there, guys, okay? So all the parts are included. So it's not like you're going to be hunting for parts. Then, again, you've got the tower to chassis brace. Now, I believe this is just for, if I'm right in saying that, no, it actually is front and rear. Okay, so again, all done in 7075, including the mounting bolts that you need to go in. So no issues there. And then you've got the motor mount, guys. Now, to kind of put this in perspective, the motor mount is really thick. All right, so what you're looking at, again, is a billeted piece. The motor mount here, let me just zero this back out. Okay, thickness is 12 millimeters. Okay, so really, really nicely strong and thick. And what he's done, all right, so it's easier for you to get out. These two screws here, obviously for your spur gear, instead of with the stock mount, you've got to take the mount out. What he's done here is put two screws above, which allow you to take your center diff in and out. And I appreciate that, definitely. Look, so nice two-piece design. Well, three-piece technically, because obviously you include in the part that attaches to your motor. And then what you're doing is a little bit of Loctite and tightening your screws in. Again, with 2.5 millimeter. And that will go in there. So the shorter screw would go towards, obviously, this billeted part here. Really nicely designed. I've got to say, Braden, from what I'm seeing here, see the machine marks? Obviously, it's just done absolutely immaculately. I've got to say, the parts quality, you can see that obviously over a period of time through testing and obviously going in and looking on how the parts, the finish is. Very, very impressed, guys. Now, the funny thing is, though, it's all well and good me showing you parts, but sort of what is the price of these? Now, the good news here, all right, is they're not expensive. They're not as expensive as people would think. I can't remember the exact price because I haven't got my iPad here to just check the price out. But I remember the towers being somewhere in the region of around about £60. Now, 60 to £70 UK money. You can't buy, let's say, like, now I know obviously M2C, but M2C towers just for the front tower on some other trucks will actually cost that. So value for money is definitely there. I've got no issues with the pricing. the idea is now, guys, I'm going to set the camera up so it's literally over the top of the car. And then we're going to start, I think what we'll do, all right, is get the motor mount done first. And then we'll move on. But yeah, obviously, very easy with the fact that he's included, obviously, the diagram on how it all goes together. So I'm going to be using this, all right? So rather than me just, you know, kind of winging it, I then know where every single screw goes. And I just love the design of everything here. Let's have a look. So the only thing, obviously, even down to, you know, center differential, for example, he's drawn a picture to that and then put not included. It's the little things. When it comes to putting parts together, there's been many a time when I've had custom RC parts and I've looked at them and thought, well, okay, how's this going to go together? You know, how's this translate to the end user? Someone, for the first time, is looking at a part that doesn't match identically of the manufacturer's part. You know, how is so are they just got to guess it? You know, is there going to be a video online? You know, is there someone like myself who I can go and have a look at? 9 times out of 10, don't get me wrong, there will be a YouTube video, and this is why I do videos like this. But Braden's gone that one step further and actually just included the full diagram for you. So big shout out to you, brother. Right, okay, so let's set the camera up and go from there. I'm going to quickly work on stripping, obviously, the stock parts out. So we're going to remove, obviously, the center diff. We're going to remove the motor mount here. All right, I now need to disconnect my fan. So I'm going to obviously put that over this side out of the way because it's all in the receiver box. I don't need to move that any further. And obviously what we do need to do is obviously move the motor. So I will be disconnecting these 6mm bullets here. Underneath the car, guys, there is obviously 1, 2, 3, 4 screws there. All right, so for the stock positions. Now, I'm not 110% sure, but I will have a look in a moment how this actually translates into the vehicle. You know, because obviously, is the motor mount actually going to line up together just like it did last time? What I'll do now, guys, is put you on a time lapse. I'm going to start removing all the bolts and screws, and I'll see you in a second. So as you can see, guys, I have stripped the center diff out. I've removed, obviously, the motor mount, which is by there, okay, this cast motor mount. Like I say, the only issue I had with this mainly was the fact that you kind of were limited with your gearing. So I've taken that out. We've got the center diff out. I don't need to do anything with that because obviously that has now been tuned, and obviously we've got the motor, and it's a good time just to check over everything's okay. I know I've got to re-add some more Loctite to this in a moment as well. Make sure all the chassis is clean. Now, what I want to do here, okay, is if you look at the fact that obviously the chassis brace, all right, on the front and the rear is easily accessible right now. So what I might do here is actually replace these parts while I've got easy access to them. I think that's probably best. Now, it's an easy thing to do. You've got a screw with a nut and bolt there, guys, and obviously 2 screws there, and a screw there and a screw there with a bolt, a nylock nut on there as well. So we'll just get the parts, which are these ones here, guys, obviously done. So obviously the top of the brace there ties into the diff case, and I'm going to reuse the stock screws going into the diff case there, so there's no need to change them. And believe, let me just have a look. Yeah, so it does apply a nylock nut there, obviously, so I'm going to be reusing that screw there. So may as well do it while I'm here. The only issue I do have, and maybe it might have been nice, obviously, to see it, but yeah, obviously it is what it is the fact that I quite like the way the cables were managed there, but it's not an issue. We can cable tie it to obviously the brace here anyway. So let's just remove those parts off the car. Again, guys, it's a pretty straightforward part, this one, so it's not like we need the instructions for this one. It's quite obvious how it comes apart. So I'm going to just remove, you've got a 2mm hex screw there. Okay, one there. And one here. Make sure you're keeping an inventory of your screws. Even, you know, what he's done essentially is just improved. Those drive shafts will fall out in a moment. There you go. So there's one. And so obviously you can see there's 2.5mm here. So we're just going to loosen that off. And that will give us access to that brace. It should fall off. There you go. That, I believe that's just come undone. Yes, it has. I'm going to leave that in there a second. Okay, so in the packaging, let me just check, guys. I've got a feeling is the nylock nut that we're going to be using to screw this down. Let me just clean this chassis off a little bit because it is. There you go. From where I've been out bashing over grass and stuff. So I'm now going to add that in there. Make sure that I've got the 2.5mm. Like so. Yeah, so that, I believe that's going to fit in there. So doing so, I'm going to pop the nylock nut into the space. You know, that go inside there. Should do. There you go. So that's now dropped in like so. And turn the car upwards. We are going to need a 2.5mm. So what I want to do is just start the screw. Sorry about that, guys. Camera decided to cut off. I'm now going to turn the car back over. I'm going to add the 2mm screws back in. Okay, so as you can see, I have tightened it there. Ignore this a second. And then we're going to tighten this back down on the diff case. I've been really looking forward to trying these parts out as well. When obviously I was looking at the cars, obviously my upgrade paths. And I do this with all my vehicles. You know, where am I going to go with it? What upgrades does it offer? Because I don't know about you guys, I very much enjoy upgrading my cars and making them stronger, faster. It's just something I do. Now, a lot of people don't do that, and I totally respect that. You know, there's no issues. You do what you want to do. But if you're invested in a vehicle, you know, your upgrade paths are something you want to have a little look at. So there's that chassis brace in. All right, so that's actually in the car now. As you can see, all fitted in there. So tied in with a nylock nut there, and obviously the screws, you don't need any sort of Loctite there because obviously that's going into a plastic diff case. Be interesting to find out if you can get a metal diff case for these, but I don't want to make it too heavy, I suppose. So the next step obviously would be this one here. Okay, and then we can start concentrating on the center diff. Now, again, you're going to need your 2.5mm there. Okay, and this one then release. So make sure you keep hold of that screw. Go underneath the car, like so. In fact, have I actually undone the wrong screw there? I think I have, guys. Yeah, it's a lie. I've undone the wrong one. I do apologise. So that, my friends, is me not paying attention. It's actually a 2mm and it's there. So make sure I put this 2.5 back in. Now, there will be a link in the description where you can actually purchase these parts, guys, okay? So, he ships all over the world. There you go, and that's the chassis brace out by there. So what we're doing essentially, guys, is replacing these composite parts for 7075 to obviously strengthen it all up. Now, it didn't come with an eye lock nut, this one. So what I will have to do here is probably reuse the one this. Okay, so got the part there. Just gonna put my 2mm screw in. Now, because we're going into metal here, what you will need though is some Loctite. Okay, guys. Always metal to metal. You want a Loctite, so get yourself a little piece of plastic. And what I tend to do is just put a piece of plastic down like so. It's not as if I'm not going to be using Loctite on the rest of the car. And when I apply this screw back in, I want just a little touch of Loctite on there. So that goes underneath like that. And a little bit of Loctite on the screw like so, just a drop. You don't want to over Loctite it either. You don't need to over tighten either, guys, okay? And then our little lock nut goes inside. Let's move this Loctite out the way. A little bit fiddly, mind, I'll be straight with you. Where's the one? Okay. Now I can't seem to get that back in there. There you go. I've got it. I've got it. Put my screw from underneath. And just tighten it up with my hand. Right, there you go. And then give it a proper tighten this side. Okay, so that's the front and rear braces fitted, guys, looking totally epic. And the reason why I've done this is obviously we've got full access to the braces. Just make sure I'm cleaning off any debris as I'm going along. Right, so that's the front and rear braces into the car. Alright, so obviously that's going to give it triangulated strength towards the chassis now, rather than just having the plastic. Now the problem is with the plastic bends, alright, so as you can imagine, even though it's quite strong composite, obviously the 7075 will act with the chassis and obviously give you that kind of triangulated strength towards the chassis, so if there is any impact, obviously both sides are actually braced in. Right, next up we're going to be doing the motor mount, so I'll move the car out of the way 2 seconds. So concentrating on the motor mount here, obviously we've got, let's lay all the parts on table. Ignore this here, these are your screws you want to keep. And then you've got your centre diff there, here's your top plate. We're going to remove the instructions like so. And then we're going to work on these parts. Okay, so first things first, I want to concentrate on, so it looks like that would then go in like so. So you then tighten that down, all right, and then this side obviously goes on there, and then you tighten the top plate down. So we'll do that in a second. Quite easy to do. Again, as I mentioned previously in other videos, this lip here is what your bearing is. It's essentially that part there is your bearing carrier there. Okay, so we're going to put that on like so. All right, so both sides are supported, as you can see. That is then going to tighten down equally. All right, your centre diff is spinning freely in the centre. You want your spur gear closest to where the motor will actually sit at the back, and then your top plate. So what he's saying here is your top plate should be mounted like so. Okay, so I'm going to remove these screws, and this is where your Loctite comes back in if you don't dip your cutters into it. I'm just going to add a little bit of Loctite on each side. Let's move everything out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to have a slight little puff of my vape. Right. I sure hope you're enjoying all the videos at the moment, guys. I'm doing my best to create as much content as I can for you guys and keep it real. I think that's the whole point of all this. Is actually make sure I'm producing good quality content rather than just any old content. So what we do here now is I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on the screw. As you can see, don't need a lot. I'm going to place that through like so. Tighten that down on this part here. In fact, what we'll do is we'll do one side at a time. So just looking at it now. Okay. I'm actually going to add just a drop more Loctite and then tighten that up. Don't over torque it, you don't need to. Now, your spur gear will spin. See this gap here? Obviously that's where it wants to go, guys. So see the gap? You've obviously got your spur gear, the little gap in between. A little bit more Loctite. Okay, and I'm just going to tighten that down so it holds it in place. I'm going to repeat the same process now for adding this part here. So that will all hold itself in place. Okay, so your shorter screw will go on the left hand side as you're looking towards the spur gear there. Place it over. We want a drop of Loctite like so, and then drop of Loctite again, just enough, little blob, don't over Loctite. In fact, I've actually put too much on myself. Let's wipe that off. And again, now we can now tighten up all the screws. Okay, I really like the design of this actually. Okay, so there's your centre diff all held in place. The tolerances are absolutely awesome. No issues at all there. And what I'll do is just give it a slight crank just to check. Like so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. Okay, so they're now nicely tightened down, and the bearing. What you got to remember is let's look at the stock part a second. Front and back was held in with composite, so that essentially has got movement available to it. Now, obviously, screwed into the car, chances are that's not going to move a lot, but this is going to provide so much better pressure between the spur gear and the bearings, and obviously when the torque of the motor is then pushing on that spur gear, the spur gear essentially isn't going anywhere. So really, really nice design. I love the mounting system. Okay, so next step, what we want to do here, let me just have a look. So we've got all this. Essentially, what we now want to do is put what part is this for then here? Draco motor pad. Ah, okay. So the motor pad. No. I'm not sure what this bit is for you. Because obviously your pinion gear, right, let's loosen this pinion gear off, shall we? So I'm still going to stick with the 16 tooth. Alright, so I'm not going to go up because we have plenty of power, guys. A ridiculous amount of power. I'm just going to loosen off these 2.5 millimeters there. And the beauty of this now, I can get the mesh absolutely perfect. So I'm going to take the backley screws right out. One there. One there. And then going to offer it up to the motor. Now bearing in mind, obviously these wires are now going over towards your electronic speed controller. And we're going with obviously that hole there and that hole there. So the larger holes of the two. So what I want to do here is provide you with screws obviously for the motor there, so we're going to use those. And again, applying some Loctite just to make sure it's all held in position. This is more like a traditional motor mount. As you can see, it's actually provided the M4x12 cap head screws. Now, the reason why I like cap head screws is this. Especially with the 3mm, a lot of the time with a lot of manufacturers, okay, what they provide you with is like a 2 or 2.5mm. With a 3, you're never ever really going to strip that screw out unless you're really kind of ham at doing some screws up. So a bit of Loctite on the screw, like so. You can afford to put a bit more on. Just kind of wet the threads up here. And that should then tighten into the motor nicely. Is that essentially right there? The only issue I've got here is trying to get these screws to go in, actually, to be honest with you. Years ago, when I first started the hobby, the amount of Loctite that I added on was ridiculous. And over the period of time then, when you go to work on your cars, you kind of realise, hang on a sec. Right, there you go. So that's now biting. Is that essentially biting in there? Where are we to? It's okay, weird thing though, guys. Okay, it's just to mention you, the cap head screws, if you're using the stock motor, all right, these M4 screws won't actually fit. So what you are going to need is M3, still 12mm, but M3 versions. I have to go looking through my tool toolkit just to make sure I had a set here. So you are going to be using the smaller holes. So if you're using a non-stock motor, all right, you can use those. That's no problem at all. But HPI, just to kind of show you, use a smaller screw set on the motor. So yeah, it looks like it was initially the screws he included are included for a non-HPI motor by the looks on things. So not an issue, something I can sort out. Let's have a look. So we are going to have to tilt the motor wires in a different angle. So let's just have compare that to where the car is. Obviously you've got your wires there, so it shouldn't be a problem. So the wires are nice and long. So obviously your motor mount goes like that, and then the wires will go over the top like so. So yeah, okay, so wires wise, you are going to be going with these two holes there, and obviously using M3 again. So if I do change the motor out to something a little bit different, I'm going to be going with those. Now I'm wondering whether I should just go up one tooth on the motor, because I did have absolutely brilliant temperatures. Okay, so that's one screw in, and then we're going to go for this one here, which I've just lost, which is there. So there you go, that's obviously all mounted using 2.5mm screws. That is on there, no issues at all, using the MHL 2200 motor. Obviously, if you're, as I mentioned, if you're going to be using a non-HPI motor, you can use then obviously the M4 by 12mm cap head screws, okay, using this position here. So that is in, so there's no issues there. Right, now this then slides in like so. So obviously your motor is there. What I'm going to do, 2 seconds guys, is I'm thinking about possibly changing the pinion, because I did go up one tooth from the stock 15. I might actually put a 17 in here and see how the car feels, because not that it needed any more speed, but the temperature is absolutely fine. So, well, look, I'm in the middle of doing it, so I may as well try it out, and we can go from there. I'll see you in a sec. It's okay, so I have my 17 tooth pinion here. Just want to get it in the correct position. Like I say, make sure you're adding Loctite. So very easy to do this, obviously outside of the vehicle, so you may as well set your mesh now to get it absolutely perfect. Now I like to get my pinion gear smack bang in between the spur gear, so I'm just going to edge that out ever so slightly. All right, and as you can see there guys, what I've got is the spur gear and the pinion gear meeting right in the center. I'm now going to add some Loctite to the pinion gear. Just a little touch, don't want to go over the top. Okay, so that is now in there, there's no issues there. Right, setting your mesh, you basically just want to check it. Again, we're going to be reusing these screws. Now, I'm thinking, all right, because these screws here are essentially non-existent. Now, I'm wondering whether I could use, now I do prefer cap heads. Let's just see if this fits in here. And if I can tighten that down, because if I can use cap heads, I will. Yeah, now that tightens down absolutely lovely. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is actually use the M4 screws, the 12mm screws, to tighten up on the motor mount. Okay, so just get my mesh right, like so. So loosen out ever so slightly. You don't want it too loose. That for me is spot on, so I'm going to tighten that up. Alright, now I'm going to add Loctite into this screw. Yeah. So that is nicely tightened down there. I'm going to unloosen this one because obviously it's held on the other side. And just a touch of Loctite on this one. Just make sure I got my mesh totally right. Yep, spot on. And that, my friends, is perfect mesh. No issues at all there. Right, so we've gone up one tooth on the pinion, so that's pretty cool. Right, moving on. So what we now need to do is obviously get this back into the vehicle, okay? So essentially what these parts here are, guys, let me just show you. Oh, I've got a sticker coming off. This here and here is for your center braces to attach to, see? Okay, so he's included that on the mount, so obviously for your top brace. So I'm really happy with that, actually. So what we're now going to do is add this back into the vehicle. We are going to be using the stock screws, which are there. All right, these are no longer for requirements, we don't need to use those. But what Draco has actually done is included the screws for you. So that's nice. Right, let's just move everything out of the way. And we'll get the car back on the bench. And again, keep your Loctite, because you are going to be using that to put the motor mount in the bottom of the car. Now, the only downside to this is I would have liked to have seen some way of attaching a fan. All right, just like it was in stock. I did like the fact that obviously the stock mount. Oh my God, this is going to look absolutely epic, guys. Right, I want to put one screw in. I want to put my drive shaft in first. Okay, so we're going to go front drive shaft like so. So that is in there, and then rear drive shaft. Okay, so that is in there. The only issue I've got here is I've actually put the fan underneath. Right, what a donkey. There you go. So let's move that, and then this over here. Now, the one thing to mention, guys, you are going to be adding a little bit of weight to the vehicle here, okay? So you might need to readjust your shocks, which is kind of handy because obviously the Draco shock towers do have extra positions for mounting your shocks in. So that, my friends, is really cool. I've got no issues with adding just a touch more weight, but what it is going to do is make the car a lot more bashable. But there you go. So what I now want to do is add a screw underneath the car. Now the only thing I can think of here is essentially this plate underneath is for supporting your motor. Now let's have a look. Where was that plate to? There you go. So I'd imagine this then lines up with the stock positions, maybe? Is that essentially what it's for? Yes, towards the rear of the vehicle. Okay, so the back of your motor is then supported. I like it. I like that. That's pretty cool. So we will probably be utilising some of the other screws. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to pop one screw in underneath. And feed that in so it holds it all in place. In fact, I might add two. So where's this hole line up to? We have it there. Now it's hard for me to show you this, but obviously just have a feel around where the hole is and then pop it over. Alright, okay. So that is then the tolerances are, and I'll speak as I find you, absolutely superb. So far, all the holes and screws line up amazingly. Right, there's one. So what we want to do now is get our Loctite back, which is, where's my Loctite gone? Oh, over here. So we now want to add Loctite to every single screw and then give it a tightening. So just a drop of Loctite. Whoop, a bit too much. Okay, and I'm going to torque them down in a second and then loosen off the ones we've already put in. Yeah, I got to say, honestly, Braden, you've done an absolutely amazing job with the tolerances. And so far, I've been very, very impressed, my friend. I have had it in the past where I've had parts from different manufacturers where it just doesn't line up correctly. And yeah, I've got one more here that I want to loosen back off and add some Loctite. I've got to say as well, this car is very easy to work on, guys. Okay, so 2.5mm, and all I want to do is just in a star pattern. 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, there is some excess Loctite on there. Maybe I've gone a bit too crazy with the Loctite, but that could be cleaned up, so it's not really an issue, is it? Okay, so now we should have, there you go guys, the motor mount in place. Feeling absolutely epic. Now what I want to do here is obviously attach my motor wires. So my motor wires, let's just loose them off here. So that then goes like so. We are going to need to add a zip tie at the rear to hold the motor wires in one place. So I think that goes like that. Definitely a lot of motor wire over there, mind. And then we'll zip tie it like so. Maybe more like that maybe. We'll work it out, but I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Obviously when the body goes on you won't see all this, but there's a lot of wire here, so I'll work it out in a second. But so yeah, motor mount is in, everything is cushy. Now we're going to move on to the towers in a moment. Oh sorry, I do apologise, we want to get the Draco motor plate underneath, don't we? Now, do these stock screws fit the Draco motor plate is the question, because is there any more screws? No, I don't think there are. I think they do. Let's turn the car over. I'm going to put a screw in there as well. Hope you're enjoying the new style of videos, guys. Obviously the sort of little look on our wrench and how we put it parts in the car. I figured it would be better for you guys at home to actually see properly what I'm doing instead of being on time lapse all the time. There you go. Right, tighten these in. There's one there. I've got to say, the weather in Wales has been absolutely amazing. I found a new bash pot today as well, guys. So I'm looking forward to showing you that. Unusual mind, because it's not actually tightening right down properly. So like, could probably go in a bit more. What I'll do is I'm going to pause the video 2 seconds. I'm going to have a quick tidy up and I'll come straight back to you in a sec. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to concentrate on the front. I've had a bit of a tidy up. As you notice, I've got the wheels off. I want to get the front end of the car with the towers on, so we're going to be installing these towers here. All right, so what I am going to need to do is obviously remove the front of the vehicle here. All right, now let's have a look just to kind of check it out. Do I need to remove a lot there? Yeah, okay, so I will need to get at the screws at the back here. You're not going to get a screwdriver in. There's 2mm screws at the back of the shock tower here. All right, so essentially it's 4 screws at the front and 4 screws at the front. I think that's pretty much about it. But you are going to need to release the bumper. So essentially for me, the easiest thing for me to do here is obviously is to remove the front end of the car off the vehicle. All right, so carefully remove your 2.5mm screws. Like so. And then there is a 2mm screw here. Okay, so we are going to need to remove that as well. Be careful when you're removing it, you don't strip it out. Ask me how I know. Okay, make sure you put them all in a safe place. And then there's 2 screws on top which you need to remove as well. Okay, so these 2 here, which are on the steering, top of the steering plate, the top deck basically. Now there are 2 more screws, okay, because you're leaving obviously the from here backwards in the vehicle. So obviously, as you can see, the Ackerman plate here is attached obviously to the tie rods. So we're going to remove those screws as well, like so. Okay, so there's all the screws. This should now slide out like so. There you go, guys. Good time to obviously check my diff. I might put a little bit more grease in there. I'm now going to remove this part of the car out. And now we're going to concentrate on working on the shock tower. Now, to remove the shock tower, obviously you're going to need to remove the bumper there. Alright, so there are 2 more screws here at the back. I'm going to put these in a separate pile because these ones are you're going to be adding back into the vehicle. All the stock screws will fit by all accounts. Braden was mentioning on one of his videos. We're not actually going to be using the standoffs, all right, because they're upgraded standoffs that he's provided. These are 4mm thick rather than 3. So there's the bumper. All right, that's now removed. We now got 1, 2, 3, 4 there. All right, and remember, you are going to need the body mounts off as well, guys. Okay, so I'm going to leave the body mounts until last, and the reason being behind it is what I wanted to do here is make sure that I've got the holes lined up correctly. Now, from what I can tell you, the center should be, yeah, so it's the center screw holes there that actually line up. Now, while you've got it out, especially if you're going with a full kit, now's a good time to add these plates in as well, okay? These plates are obviously so you can fix your center braces, all right? So you are going to need those, guys. So I'm going to put that over here. I also need a nut driver, which is by here. Very simple to work on this car. I've mentioned it numerous times now. I think it's a 5.5mm actually. Okay, so yeah, that's correct. You will need to keep this to go back on. Obviously, if you're keeping the stock parts, release your shock. Release that shock there. So 4 more screws, guys. And I'm doing all this by hand. And to be honest with you, I don't know why, because I have got an electric screwdriver to use, so I do apologise. I'd rather use my electric screwdriver than handballing it all. There you go. So now your tower is loose, as you can see. But what you are going to have to do here is obviously remove these screws which hold the top tie rods in place, okay? So I'm actually going to do that by hand. And then using a nut driver on this side. Okay, make sure you keep that screw there, and the nut that goes with it, which is inside here. And the same applies for this side. Now this should be a direct fit once again. Okay, so there's your shock tower. So just lining that up, all right. Oh, so obviously to get the geometry correct, you're actually going to be using this bottom middle hole here, okay? So I'm actually going to place this onto the car, like so. Move that out the way. I'm going to put my 4 screws back in, and then I'm going to work from there. Now the reason why I've done this a longer video, guys, because many of you have said you appreciated the older style videos where I didn't time lapse as much, all right, and I actually talked through installing the upgrades and what my thoughts were and the thought process while I'm doing it. So if you'd let me know in the comments which ones you preferred, do you want the kind of time lapse with the music and seeing the parts, or would you like to see me do more wrenching and talking you through it? Okay, so there we go. Tower is essentially added to the bulkhead, so there's no issues there. Right, now remember your drive shafts are going to pop out because obviously you've released the top turnbuckles like so. So we now need to go middle hole at the bottom, and remember your nylock nut that I said look after. That then goes on the back here. If I can get it on, there you go. And your nut driver and a 2mm. Now, tighten them up. I don't want to wrench on them too hard. There you go, and that's now tightened in. Same applies to the other side, middle hole. Like so, and then whoop, I'll tell you what I have done, guys. I've missed out the drive shaft on this side. That's my fault. Here you go. Okay, right. Now, as you can see, that's now on the vehicle. I do apologise, guys. As you can see, that's now on the vehicle. When I say the vehicle, the front of the vehicle. These are 7mm nuts. All right, so they're a little bit larger than the 5.5s. One there, one there. That then pops onto the standoff, like so. Reapply your nylock nut. Now, from what I can tell you, he's gone with the stock positions for the standoffs, which is fine by me, because obviously I want to keep driving the car. I'm finding finding out how I'd like to fine tune it. So he's not changed any geometry on the vehicle when adding the parts back on. Okay, don't go too tight. Make sure, yeah, nice and loose, no problems there. Pop that back onto the standoff there. Reapply your 7mm nut. I've got to be honest, thing of beauty. I mean, look at the difference between the two. It's unbelievable. So, thicker, wider, more material, stronger. Excellent work. Right. Okay, so now we've got this on, okay? What we now want to do is, firstly, I'm going to work out the bumper. So I'm going to reapply the bumper there. Actually, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. What I want to do is add these metal parts, okay? So these metal parts are going to go on the back of the towers here in these 4 holes, 4 upper holes there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to put these over here a second because I don't want to mess up my part. I'm going to have a little puff. What do you think, guys? It is coming together, isn't it? I'm very, very happy with what he's produced here, because done an amazing job, I think, personally. Now, I just want to check something, because obviously the centre brace, what screws are we using? Maybe 2. So M3 by 10mm button head screws, 8 in total, so that's the front and the rear. We only need 4 for the moment. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Put the rest back in the packet, and we'll come on to the rear in a moment. Like so. Okay, so that can go back in the bag with the brace. Okay, and these now need to go, and again, you are going to need Loctite here, guys, okay? So, judging, they're completely symmetrical. There's no particular way they've got to go on, but essentially they're going on the back of there. All right. So, Loctite, where are we? A little bit of Loctite here. Okay, your 2mm driver. Just a little dip. All right, to make it bite into the thread. This Truggy should be pretty damn bashable after this, guys, that's for sure. Oh. So one there, on another screw just to kind of and then tighten them up. So that's one. The same with the other screw. Okay, wipe off any excess. Where's my handy dandy? There you go, just wipe a little bit off there. So obviously if you've now got that on the rear of the tower, obviously for your brace to attach to, guys, okay? Wanted to make sure I included that just to show you. so you don't go further down the line. Now, screws back in, stock positions for your front bumper. The only issue I have got here is trying to get them in the right place because my hands are very cold at the moment. Like so. That's one. Okay, so bumper is now on the front as well, as you can see. Very beautiful, very nice looking. No issues at all there. Essentially what I'm going to do now, guys, is put you onto a time lapse while I re-add the front end of the car back together, and then I'll come straight back to you. Okay, see you in a second. Right guys, so as you can see, front end is on. It is starting to look totally epic, I'll be honest with you. Really, really beautiful parts. The quality and design is amazing. And like I said, look at the difference, guys. Totally, totally different. All right. I really like what he's done here. Now, the only thing to mention, and I did mention it earlier on, is obviously what we do need to do is add your body supports back in, okay? So he has included 3 sets of holes for your body. So obviously you've got your guide, which is this little guide up the top here. All right, and obviously your screw. So I'm going to go with the stock position. Oh, wrong way around. What am I doing? Like so. And then popping those back in, one there. We'll go same again with this side. And tighten them back up. And then what I'll do, guys, okay, because essentially the rear of this car is identical to the front in the sense of what the towers are, except for the rear wing. Now I don't want to drag this video out too long. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fit the rear tower on. And then we'll concentrate on the center brace. I think that's probably the best way forward. All right, because I don't want to make this a huge video for the sake of making a huge video, okay? Guys, you know, you're doing an awesome job following me along. Thank you very much. And yeah, I think you get the gist of it. With the tower is quite a simple thing to do. Remove the screws, put it back in again. The center diff was a little bit different, and the top brace, again, that's a little bit different. As I mentioned though, you remember to put in these little guides for your top brace. So I'm going to put you back on a time lapse now. I'm going to start removing the rear of the vehicle, and yeah, fingers crossed you'll see what's going on. Right, so all there is left to do now, my friends, is long short, is fit these tie rods, these top braces to the vehicle. Very simple to do this. Obviously, he's provided the hardware. So you've got a nylock nut and a 2.5. All right, so you're going to need to add those in. One through the side of here, at the back. Like so, and then your nylock nut on the other side, which is a 5.5 nut driver. All right, I'm just going to start that off, and then essentially, guys, all you do is tighten it up. Alright, so there's one. And then obviously that then goes through the top of here. Like so. You put your screw through. Now, the only thing I will say here, alright, is getting the nut underneath might be a bit of a pain for some people. So all I would do is hold it with your finger. Like so. And then once you've kind of got it bitten, I would get yourself a pair of pliers or something like that and just hold it underneath. Oh, there you go. There's my one nut falling out. Roll that back off. But it's gone together absolutely epic, guys. Honestly. You can see that he's done his research on all the parts and tried out many different ways of putting this kit together. And that is it. Just tighten it, you don't need to yank down on it. And then the front one, which is, where's the front one gone? Here, same thing. Now what I might do is do this one first, because obviously I can get underneath here, and then that should just drop into place. But what an epic kit for the guys who are into their HPIs. I mean, you can see that it's been put together by someone who's actually into the vehicles rather than just a standard manufacturer. So, you know, it's an enthusiast kit, I would call this. It's custom parts made by someone who's into the hobby. There you go. Just tighten that down. And then we're going to add this one in the front. Like so. Now, where the beauty of this kit comes in a moment is obviously we can adjust the tension between the two towers. If I can get this. Ugh. Oh, Christ. So I might actually loosen this one off to get that one in there, to be honest with you, because that pivot ball is just giving me a little bit of grief there. It's slotted into place just now. There you go. And that's how tight the tolerances are, honestly. Quite honestly, guys, I mean, if you're kind of into the hobby, this kit shouldn't take you that long. I mean, obviously it's taken me a little bit longer because obviously I'm documenting it, but I've only looked a few times. Now, one thing I forgot to show you earlier, all right, was, and it's my fault because I overlooked the instructions. There are some different mounting hardware for the turnbuckles on the towers. They're actually included, and I'll show you in a second. By Draco. There you go, guys. I mean, she is looking pretty tough, honestly. Right, okay, so what you can do now, essentially, is just tighten them up or loosen them off. So I'm going to tighten them up a little bit, just to give it a bit more strength. So, tower to tower, they're rigid, they're not going anywhere. So just to quickly point out to you, it actually includes some washers to go on the standoffs, which I've now re-added. You've probably seen that in the time lapse. And also he's giving you these M3 22mm cap head screws to go through the top of the turnbuckles here, just to kind of give you a little bit more strength there. But what do you reckon, guys? She is looking epic. I mean, I'm really, really happy with that. Let's go back up top a second, and I'll just quickly talk you through it. And honestly, Braden, you've done yourself proud. What an epic kit, honestly. First time I've obviously used your parts, but I can honestly say, my friend, it won't be the last, because I'm quite enjoying these HPI cars at the moment. They're fun to work on, and obviously you thought about the parts here, and I will say, you know, it's gone together absolutely amazing. As I say, an enthusiast kit made by an enthusiast. So epic. I'll see you in a second.
You know when the calling's calling.
So what do you think, guys? I think it's absolutely epic, honestly. Truly epic. The way it come out, I think, is really beautiful. And you can see the time and effort that Braden, well, Draco, has actually put into making these parts. You know, everything fitted really nicely, even down to, you know, adding little shims in parts, including all. I appreciated the fact that the mounting hardware just fitted perfect. I've noticed the suspension feels a lot better actually in that position. I'm not sure. I will need to speak to him on that and find out, you know, was that his preferred suspension position for this Truggy. But overall, the fit and finish of it is beautiful. The motor mount is epic. You know, obviously now I'm able to kind of really dial in the mesh properly, and you know, it's nice and tough and strong. You know, none of it's composite. The spur gear is held in place great. At some point I would like to obviously pick up one of his diff cases for the center to stop any stones and stuff getting in there. 4mm standoffs. You know, just it was the silly little things, like, you know, obviously using these rods rather than using just a standard turnbuckle arrangement, you know, that with that sort of thing there. Obviously that's going to give it some more strength. Easy to adjust as well. The dual mounting position, I like that. You know, it's split up. It gives you all that triangulated strength towards the center diff. Everything has gone in perfectly. Just epic, honestly. Guys, link will be in the description for obviously where you can pick these parts up. Drop Draco a message on Facebook, on his socials. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Obviously, go ahead and subscribe to them. If you're interested in your HPI cars and obviously adding nice parts to the vehicles, it's definitely worth doing. I've watched some of his videos, and his Bashbot looks cool in Osaka, to be fair. You know, it's a big, it looks like a big kind of baseball diamond, that sort of thing. He's got a little jump in the middle, but I would love that, you know, especially I'm a ground basher, and you know, being able to rip around on that dirt by that dock would be amazing. Guys, truly epic. I feel privileged. Obviously, he's asked me to do these videos. I want to say huge thank you to each and everyone who obviously watching all the videos. All the likes, shares and subscribes go on the channel. Epic, guys, honestly. I can't thank you enough. I'm really humbled by obviously you guys coming along for the ride as well. But I mean, come on, we have added some weight to the vehicle, there's no denying there, but even down to the center braces, it's just, I really like this truck. I like my Truggies, as you know, and now the only thing I will mention is I would have liked to have possibly seen some sort of built-in fan mount maybe over the top of the motor, but then again, obviously if you put in bigger cans in the car, that might come into play. I haven't really got anything bad to say here. It's going to make a hell of an improvement on the car, and I think, you know, pound for pound, it's going to be awesome. Guys, check the box for more videos. Till next time, stay awesome. Thank you very much for watching. Big shout out to Draco Precision. I'll see you in the next video.